podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Network. That's 200 stations coast to coast. Sunday, September 20th, 2020. This is episode 1730. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast comes to you from TWiT's LastPass studios. Securing every access point in your company doesn't have to be a challenge. LastPass unifies access and authentication to make securing your employees simple and secure, even when they're working remotely. Check out lastpass.com/twit to learn more. This episode of The Tech Guy is brought to you by Twilio. Strengthen your customer relationships by uniting communications across your entire business. Get everything you need to build and deliver a new customer experience with Twilio. Go to twilio.com to learn more. And by Privacy.com. Privacy lets you make purchases online using virtual cards instead of real ones, protecting your identity and bank information on the internet. New customers get $5 to spend on their first purchase when they go to privacy.com/techguy to sign up now. And by LastPass. Let LastPass improve your employees' experience while safeguarding your business from cyber threats. LastPass is the #1 password manager. Visit lastpass.com/twit to find out how they can help you. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number if you want to talk high tech. I want to talk high tech with you. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, you can call, use the Skype out, and that'll make it inexpensive, if not free. Should be free. It's a toll-free number. Should be free. When you use Skype out or some sort of voice-over internet thingamajig, it should just be free, shouldn't it? So I don't know what's going on with TikTok. This morning was supposed to be the morning TikTok was turned off, and WeChat too, both owned by Chinese company ByteDance. The idea, the U.S. Commerce Department said, nope, because it's Chinese and, it's a threat to our great national sovereignty or something. I don't really understand, honestly. The Chinese could spy on us, I guess. Or then some who are a little more nuanced say, well, it's not that they're just learning our location, but they could propagandize us. Oh, you mean like Facebook? Yeah, like that. They don't need TikTok. They've got Facebook. Anyway, this has been going on and on and on. And back in August, the president said 45 days to sell yourself to an American company. Microsoft and Walmart were bidding. So was Oracle, which is a big database company, not really widely known among consumers, but a very popular database for reasons no one understands fully in enterprise, because it's terrible. But anyway, it's been here a long time. I think that's really why it's so successful. Its owner, Larry Ellison, has become one of the wealthiest men in the world, is busy building big yachts, bigger than other people's yachts. That's what you do if you're a billionaire. You just build, I want my yacht to be bigger. Mr. Ellison is also a supporter of the president and has held fundraisers, and I think that helped a little bit, because last Sunday, Microsoft said, yeah, TikTok told us we're out. And Oracle said, we didn't buy it, but we're a tech partner. And Walmart said, I'm switching teams. I'm now with Oracle. Okay. Between the two of them, Oracle and Walmart will have a minority stake in ByteDance by giving them some amount of money or stock or something. And then, it's so complicated. It turns out that because ByteDance has, I think, something like 40% of its investors are in the U.S., they're adding that to the Walmart Oracle stake, and the Commerce Department says, good, that's a majority. So it is now a majority U.S. owned. The president said, All right. That's good. So he's approved this bid in concept. He also says this new company, which will be called Tik-Tok Global, and so he's going to put the ban on hold for a week. Tik-Tok Global will also give $5 billion in new tax dollars to the U.S., $5 billion with a B, to set up a new education fund. It's really a propaganda fund the president has put together to teach children to, I don't know what, love dear leader. Anyway, it's Oracle will take a 12.5% stake in Tik-Tok Global. Walmart tentatively agreed to buy 7.5%. 12.7 it makes 20%. And 4 of the 5 board seats will be filled by Americans. And then the courts, a U.S. judge in California has issued a preliminary injunction saying you can't ban WeChat from the Apple and Google stores. It's hard to understand really what the precedent would be for the Commerce Department saying Apple and Google, you have to remove an app from the store. I don't think that's ever happened before. Commerce Department officials say we are prepared for a long legal battle. Oh, great. Just what the world needs. Another long legal battle. This is just going to be an endless story, isn't it? TikTok, you know, is a fan favorite with the young'uns. I don't know, have you seen it? It's actually quite entertaining. I know you've seen it because they were buying ads on the NFL football games last weekend, trying to, I guess, excite the American people about the potential for TikTok. You know, I don't care a lot about it. It's just another social network. It's just weird that the U.S. government says, well, we can ban it. We're just gonna ban it. I don't think I don't know. WeChat, which is a chat program not widely used in the U.S., is used mostly by Chinese citizens in the U.S. and Chinese Americans with friends and family in China. Because in China, it's universal, widely used, and not just as a chat program. It's just not another Facebook Messenger. It's really used for everything. So yesterday, the president says, I approve the deal in concept. We have, and I think quite reasonably, blocked Chinese companies like Huawei and ZTE because they are network companies, and Huawei especially has a lot of equipment in the 5G networks, and the threat is that an order from the Chinese government, which would be fully legal in China to a Chinese company, would say, hey, just cut off that American stuff. Just turn it off or bug it. So I can understand the reason to do that. TikTok, it's a little bit more tenuous. It's a little bit more tenuous. And I do feel bad. There's a lot of kids making really fun, funny videos on TikTok. There's TikTok stars and making a ton of money on TikTok and a lot of fame and celebrity. In fact, sometimes too much fame and celebrity. There are those on TikTok who say, wow, I can't handle the fame. So, but most people on TikTok, I think it's just a fun, entertaining. I just don't know. Our phones are spying on us all the time. By any company that can get an app on your phone can pretty much spy on you all the time. That's why I'm really excited by what both Google, Android, and iOS, Apple's iOS, are doing. Both of them are now starting to, especially with the new iOS 14, pop up little notices that say, hey, you know, this application has been looking at in the background at your location and even showing you a map of where they just reported home. Do you want them to do that? And you can disallow it. Same thing on Android. Actually, Apple went a little too far with iOS 14. There's some people a little bit upset because Apple also popped up a little notice saying, hey, you're being tracked by this app or these websites using this ID for advertising that Apple makes. Do you want to disable that? When Apple said, well, we're going to do that in iOS 14, all the advertising companies who track us said, wait a minute. Facebook said, you can't do that. That would ruin business. How are we supposed to make a living if we can't spy on our users, even when they're not using the app? And so Apple, because Apple is very politic and perhaps worried about antitrust regulation, because Google, by the way, is being investigated apparently now by our U.S. government for doing something similar in Chrome. They say, well, that's monopolistic. So Apple's probably worried about that, and so they said, well, we won't do that till next year. So you free reign, go ahead, spy on everybody. As long as you're an advertising company, that's okay. I don't know what to say. Honestly, I don't have any Facebook apps on my phone because I don't trust them one bit. So there's no Facebook, there's no Instagram, there's no WhatsApp on my phone. I don't have a Facebook account or a WhatsApp account. I found out I had an Instagram account. I created it by accident a long time ago, so I have to delete that. Although that's useful because occasionally I want to see what people are up to. I got to figure out a way to do that without giving Facebook any information. Certainly putting it on your phone would be a mistake. I don't have TikTok on there either for the same reason, but I don't know if there should be there ought to be a law. Anyway, we'll see. This is it's just more crazy time. Crazy time in the world. I can't think of, can you think of, maybe you can, 8888 Ask Leo. Another case where the federal government has banned an app, has said, Apple and Google, take that app off. Apple and Google have done this many, many times on their own, saying, it's hate speech or it's inappropriate, it's adult. Apple takes off a lot of stuff that's too adult. But I can't remember the government. There is a United States entity called CFIUS, the Committee for Foreign Investment in the U.S., and there is a legal process that CFIUS can go through. It's been around since 1950, part of the Defense Production Act, believe it or not, to say, hey, this is an American company. It shouldn't be allowed to be sold to foreigners because that risks national security. So they can stop that kind of thing. They can prevent foreign investment in the U.S. I don't know if they can prevent U.S. investment in foreign companies. However, I don't know what they can do. Anyway, so we'll just continue to follow this with interest. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. Anything with tech, it's a lot easier to talk about why your iPhone's not working or whether you should buy a printer or, that kind of thing. So, but I'll take anything. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. Website, we have that because, you're doing stuff. You're busy. Your hands are tied up as you drive your car or clean the kitchen, whatever you're doing right now. Why should you have to take notes? I have hired a professional scribe, James DeRuvo. Hello, scribe. He's writing this all down. He'll put it up on the website. So anything you hear that you want to, I need a link to that or whatever, it should be up there. TechGuyLabs.com. That's free. No sign up, nothing. That's just a reference to the show. In fact, there's even audio and video from the show right there. So you can, after the fact. This is episode 1730. That's how many times I've said, hey, hey, hey. How are you today? 1,730 times. That's up there. All of them. Every one of them. We'll go to the phones and take your calls in just a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, the star of our show, the unbreakable phone angel herself, Kimmy Schaffer. Kimmy, don't take no Schaffer. Hello, Kimmy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I heard Titus Burgess on, wait, don't tell me on the way here. So
I love Titus Burgess.
I've already heard that song once today.
That song is the theme song for a fabulous show called The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Titus is one of the stars of it. The other one is, what's her name?
Ellie Kemper?
Yeah, Ellie Kemper, who was on The Office. And it's such a good show. And I think it was created by the 30 Rock. Boy, I'm starting to sound old, aren't I? The 30 Rock lady. What's her name? Tina Fey? Oh. Tina Louise?
Sarah Palin?
I don't know. Anyway.
It's one of those days.
One of
I
them
could tell
days.
when you were messing with your phone beforehand that
Did you hear what I gave my? This is kind of a fun little hack you could do to your.
It was
your
cute.
Siri. You can tell it. First you have to say. Tell it to change your nickname. Change my nickname. And then it says, "What would you like to change it to?" Oh, but then I was just fooling around, so I said, "Let me do it." Should I do it?
No.
No? Okay,
Take
don't do
a call.
It takes a long time. It'd take a long time.
Randy has been waiting on the phone since yesterday, so he waited
What?
all night long.
I hope you got a little something to eat, Randy.
Randy and Evergreen.
Thank you, Kim. I am so sorry, Randy. Holy cow! Would we just we accidentally went home and left you on the phone? I'm so sorry.
And I was holding my breath. No, actually, Leo, I've been holding my breath about the 5G iPhone. I heard it's coming.
Yes. Well, we thought maybe Apple would announce that on Tuesday, but they didn't. All they announced, it wasn't all that, but they announced a new Apple Watch, the Series 6 watch, or 7, Series 7 watch. No, Series 6 watch. And they announced a new iPad. I want to say something, but it's just the iPad. It's the 8th generation iPad. And a new iPad Air, both of which impressive. And they announced a new Apple One package, bundling all their services in a new service called Fitness Plus. But they didn't even say, "Oh, sorry, we don't have any iPhones for you today. Stay tuned," or anything. They just didn't even, it's like it didn't even exist. Normally, they would have done it this month. So the rumor is, and I think even Apple said this in their last quarterly results phone call. They do that with the analysts. They said, "Yeah, it's going to be a little delayed because of COVID-19." But the iPhone 12 will certainly come out this year, probably be announced in October, and probably ship a week or two after that. So I think by this time next month, you'll have an iPhone 12.
So can I ask a specific question about the technology, Leo?
Sure. I mean, I'll be guessing because, Apple doesn't pre-announce. But go ahead.
Well, you know a lot. So the problem we're trying to solve, I'm a lucky brother. My sister is a sister. She's a nun.
Oh, neat.
In a convent. Yeah, she's awesome. And so I am their tech guy.
Oh, nice.
Big shoes to fill. Yeah, I'm retired. So their monastery is very large, single story with standing seam metal roofs.
Okay, that's not good for Wi-Fi, as you know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, or cellular, right? And so
but it can probably leak out the sides. Is it made of stone?
It's stucco, I guess.
Stucco. Yeah, it can go through stucco. Metal is the thing that's bad. But anyway, go on. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so they often have to go outdoors to have decent...
That has more to do with where the cell tower is in relation to the monastery. So
5G help.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who can use their cell phone inside if there's a cell tower near enough. But they, I bet, are in a somewhat rural area. They're in a pretty area, right? And it's somewhat distant from the nearest cell tower. Or they're in a small town. Many small towns only have one cell tower in the center of town. So as you get farther from the center, it gets bad. We're here, where we are, is far enough from the T-Mobile tower that we actually have to have a booster in our office. And that's one thing to do, is to call the cell company and say, "Hey, look, these poor sisters can't get cell reception. They're always going out in the courtyard. Can you give us," the technical term is a femtocell or a microcell. It's a little cell site that attaches to their internet access. And that would give them a cell site inside the monastery. But 5G is not going to be a magic solution. It does not travel that well. Hang on. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So I had to take a break. But this is... 5G is not better transmission. Now, there's two kinds of 5G. There's high band and there's low band. High band is at such a high frequency that not only can the sisters not get it, most people can't get it unless they're next to the cell tower. It does not travel well, and it's at such a, as you may know, the higher the frequency, the worse it goes through walls and stuff.
Wow.
So that's just a non-starter, unless, again, they've got a cell site inside the building. There's a low-band 600 megahertz 5G. T-Mobile offers it right now. And that transmits just as well as any other cell signal. Not worse, not better. But it is not faster either. It's just 5G. It's not anything particularly better. It might get faster in time. T-Mobile is struggling a little bit because they never had great coverage. They've merged with Sprint, but the Sprint towers aren't yet enabled for T-Mobile's low-band 5G. That will come. In other words, 5G is not going to save your sister's life.
All right.
So, but call whatever. Well, they probably don't all use the same cell carrier, or do they?
They do. AT&T.
Okay, so you call AT&T, and you say, and you throw yourself on the mercy of the court, and you say, "Oh man, these sisters, they're wonderful people. They're taking a vow of poverty. You know, they yeah, of course it is, and they're very godly and so forth. But one thing they would like to be able to do is make some phone calls. Their cells don't work inside the building because your tower is too far away. Could you provide us with a femtocell?" Now, sometimes they charge for these, but honestly, most of the time they'll just give it to you. Now, AT&T doesn't call it a femtocell. AT&T has a different name. They call it a microcell. But they should give you one. How many square feet is the?
It's huge. I think it's 10,000 square feet.
Okay,
and actually, Leo, we got 2 quotes on having somebody install, I guess, that kind of technology, cellular rebroadcasting. It was $25,000.
Yeah, no. AT&T will do it for free to keep them as customers. Okay. And it's just a little box. Now, given the size of the monastery, you're probably going to need a bunch of. I presume the monastery has internet access.
Oh, yes.
Because what this does is it plugs into your internet.
Yeah.
And then uses the internet to backhaul to the tower and get the cell signal into the building. Once it's in the building, it should transmit pretty well. But again, you may need a number of them. AT&T does that for very low cost or free because they want to keep your business. So that's the trick. Just say, look, we can't pay you, but we're going to have to switch carriers.
Yeah.
That's the code word.
Good
We're
one.
going to have to switch carriers because you don't work in here.
Right. That's beautiful, Leo.
Yeah. I think that's the best solution, and it should not cost $25,000. It shouldn't cost anything. AT&T wants to keep you as customers. T-Mobile did that for us in our studio. Awesome. We have a little femtocell in the studio, connects to our Wi-Fi, and otherwise, because many of us have T-Mobile, nobody could use their cell phones in the building.
Right.
So that's the solution for you. 5G is not going to change anything. And even though when they get new phones, all the new phones will have 5G. But, you know, PC Magazine just had a great article last week. You might check it out. They do every year. They go to city after city, 26 cities, and test the connectivity. And their conclusion was 5G is actually no better than anything else right now. It's not going to make a difference. Okay?
Thank you, brother.
You're a good brother. Thank you.
1730, man. Congrats.
Oh, thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye. It does sound like a lot. But you do it a little bit at a time. It sneaks up on you. Hey, I got a new sponsor I want to tell you about. I'm really excited to tell you about. I've been using Twilio. I've been a Twilio customer. You know Twilio? Yeah. I've been a Twilio customer, I don't know, forever. The world is changing fast. You want to build new ways to help customers. That's what Twilio can do. Engage customers on any channel anywhere, from text messages to emails, phone calls to video, and more, all in one single powerful platform. I use Twilio as a phone provider, but you could do so much more with that. Twilio powers 795 billion interactions. Are you kidding? Across channels with 5 nines of uptime, 99.999% uptime. 3 billion phone numbers available. That's the scale of Twilio. Customers love what Twilio. Everybody uses it. A lot of the things when you send a text or receive a text, it's coming through Twilio. Shopify, for instance, runs their entire global contact center, more than 1 million customers, on Twilio's Flex. That's their programmable contact center solution. Blue Apron uses Twilio. They power their newsletter emails with Twilio's SendGrid. Yeah, Twilio's more than phones. Netflix keeps your online account secure with 2-factor authentication from, you got it, Twilio. Ride-sharing, contactless delivery services like Lyft and Uber, they connect riders and drivers over text messaging, and they use Twilio. Twilio. Product and operations teams use Twilio to create new ways to communicate with their users inside applications, ranging from account notifications with text messaging to chatbots to securing online accounts with 2-factor authentication. Marketing teams use Twilio to get the word out, connecting with leads over text messaging and phone calls, campaigns over email. They build chatbots to answer questions, all on the Twilio platform. And it's great for customer service. You can build global contact and support centers using that Twilio Flex program I was telling you about, a fully programmable contact center application platform. Twilio is amazing. And by the way, it's not in the ad. I just want to thank them because they also do Authy, which is my #1 two-factor authentication tool. And it works even better if you're using Twilio. I just think Twilio is amazing. It lets your developers control the global communications network. Just a few lines of code. Twilio is built by developers for developers. That's why I love it. And as I said, I've been using Twilio in a variety of applications for many, many years. I have Twilio phone numbers. I just love it. You don't need to be a specialized telecom network engineer to build incredible communications apps. You just need Twilio. If your developers build web applications, they already know how to build the apps that text, call, chat, and video conference using Twilio. Strengthen your customer relationships by uniting communications across your whole business. I am a big fan of Twilio. When they called us up, I said, I love you, Twilio. I've been using you for years. Twilio.com to learn more today. Twilio. Twilio. It's time to build. And it's a lot of fun, too. And easy. Twilio.com. Thank you, Twilio, for your support. We really appreciate it. I bet you we use a lot of Twilio ourselves, come to think of it, for the tech guy and stuff like that. Twilio is awesome. Nice to have them as a new sponsor on the network. Sam rides low in his Miata. I want to make that clear. They said, Sam, Abuelsamid is not a low rider, but you are. You drive a Miata, which is about 2 feet off the ground. So you're riding low. Right. It's not lowered. It came that way from the factory. Sam Abuelsamid is here. He's our car guy. He's a principal researcher at Guidehouse Insights. His podcast is awesome. Wheel Bearings. It's available at wheelbearings.media or wherever you get your podcasts. And he joins us every week to talk the tech of cars. You're sitting in front of what looks like an ultraviolet image of a town. Is this a self-driving vehicle?
No, actually, this is earlier this week. Had a conversation with the folks at FLIR, who have been developing a new infrared sensor for use with driver assist and automated driving systems. One of the challenges, all the systems out there today, whether they're driver assist or the fully automated systems that are in development. They all use cameras and radar, and most of them use LiDAR as well. But one of the advantage of cameras is it's great for doing classification of the objects that the sensors see around the vehicle. So, to understand the semantics, whether something's a vehicle or a dog or a person or a cyclist, cameras are great for that. The other sensors, radar and LiDAR, much better for detecting range and speed, how far something is away from you, its position, things like that. The problem with cameras, though, is, as you're no doubt aware, if you've ever used your phone or a camera to take pictures, they depend a lot on lighting to get a good image. And if you have the sun shining right into the camera, as you can see the video playing over my shoulder.
Oh my God, they hit that guy.
Well, driving out of a tunnel or something, or even at sunset or sunrise.
Hard to see people.
It can be very hard to see.
I used to have on my old Audi, I had it looked like an infrared display that would show people, animals, anything warm. So this isn't something new. Infrared anyway. Yeah,
it's actually those night vision systems that are available on some premium cars like Audis and Mercedes and BMWs. Actually, most of those are made by FLIR, so the same company.
Interesting.
And it's based on the same technology, but the sensors that they use for those night vision systems are fairly costly. They cost several $1,000s. What FLIR and a couple of other companies, like there's another one, an Israeli startup called ADASky, have been doing, is developing a lower cost version using different technology. ADASky is actually based on CMOS, using a CMOS sensor. To bring the cost down. They're trying to get the cost down to a few $100s. And so what FLIR recently did, they worked with a company called VSI Labs to equip a car with one of their infrared sensors. And then they did a bunch of testing nearby here at the American Center for Mobility, which is just a few miles away from me here, and compared it to a bunch of current production driver assist systems that use primarily cameras and in some cases radar to do automatic emergency braking. And the reason why they did that is the Consumer Reports recently also did some testing of this, and they found that the results were not that great from most of the systems. For the most part, they work okay in some optimal conditions, but for example, in bright sunlight, somebody in really light clothes, you got low contrast, hard to see them. At night, almost impossible for those systems to work.
Well, and that's
know where
there was a tragic story in Arizona when a Uber self-driving vehicle struck and killed a pedestrian. In fact, just recently, the safety driver was being prosecuted for murder.
Yeah, she was charged with negligent homicide.
Because she was on her phone looking at a movie when she should have been paying attention. But honestly, based on what I saw of that footage, there was no way she would have seen that pedestrian who kind of came out of nowhere in the dark.
No, but the LiDAR that was on that vehicle definitely should have seen her.
Yeah, that's what's cool about this. This could save a lot of lives because I presume the cars equipped with this would stop automatically. They wouldn't. The driver wouldn't even have to pay attention. Yeah,
because they can detect particularly a person or an animal crossing in front of the vehicle much better in these more challenging
much more quickly.
Conditions.
Yeah. I mean, hitting a deer is no good thing. It can really be
it's not.
Yeah, it can really be
and definitely not hitting pedestrians.
Yeah, you don't want to hit people either.
Over the last few years, when we had an increase in traffic fatalities, most of that increase was actually pedestrians, not people inside the vehicles. Because new cars have gotten so safe that it's a lot less frequent that people inside the vehicle die, at least if they're wearing seatbelts.
Wow.
But we've had a significant increase in pedestrians dying. Part of that, can be attributed to distraction of either the driver or the pedestrians. You've got a lot of pedestrians walking around staring
face
at their phone,
looking at their phone. Please, kids, stop it.
Yeah.
The first time I became aware of FLIR, which I guess was originally a military technology, was after the Boston Marathon bombing. Do you remember that one of the suspects ran away, and he was hiding in a boat in the backyard of a house, and they found him because the infrared sensing in a helicopter sensed him in that boat. And that was when I first heard the term FLIR and understood what FLIR was. So obviously this technology has gotten less expensive and more widespread. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, and we're going to start seeing it coming to cars over the next few years. And
Good.
In fact, last year was really interesting. I had a demo from this other company, ADASky, and because human temperature tends to be within a fairly narrow range, in the 97, 98 degree range. It's actually pretty easy to detect, to distinguish a human from almost anything else in its surroundings. And
because there's other warm things around. In fact, my Audi camera would pick up exhausts. There'd be a bright light underneath a car. It would pick up street lights. It would pick up a lot of stray stuff because I guess it wasn't clever enough to know, this is a human.
Well, what they showed me in this demo was, somebody actually walking behind a car or walking between two parked cars. All you could see was just the top of their head. But because you could detect that specific temperature range, it was able to say, okay, that's a pedestrian. You got to watch out for that in case, imagine if somebody's walking up between two parked cars.
That's right.
To cross the street. That's something you can't really do with just a regular visible light camera.
Right. Well, this would be a big improvement in pedestrian safety for sure, and just overall safety. Because you don't want, not only do you not want to hit a person, you don't want to hit an animal either.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, this is good, and I presume it would detect
cause a lot of damage.
Anything would be in that temperature range. An animal's probably different, but their body temperature is different. But I guess that would be adjusted to see animals as well. Good. I'm glad. I look forward to this. You said a couple of years out.
Yeah, in fact, we may see some of the first applications with the ADASky sensor as soon as 2021.
Okay,
they said that they had some programs coming in 2021. FLIR is a couple of years away, but we'll be seeing vehicles using infrared sensing as part of both their driver assist and automated driving systems over the next several years.
This is one of the reasons I like to, if I can, buy a car outright, but my wife won't let me. She said, the technology changes so fast. You should have 3-year leases so that you can try the next thing. Also because you don't know, especially with these new electric vehicles, you don't know, how well they're going to last and stuff. So this is good. I'll be leasing a Ford Mach-E, but in 3 years, maybe FLIR will be available and I can step up to something with a FLIR in it. Yeah, it's probably a little more expensive to lease it, I would guess. But that way, every 3 years I can see what's new in technology. This stuff changes so fast now. Used to be a car, nothing's going to change for years. Nothing's going to change,
Yeah, well, I mean, my car, is still pretty much as it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, but now that we have computers in them and all these sensors, everything changes as quickly as it does with your phone or your computer. And that's that's kind of almost a mismatch between what our expectations are for cars and what the reality is. Sam Abuelsamid, principal researcher, Guidehouse Insights. Listen to Wheel Bearings, his podcast, at wheelbearings.media. We'll see you next week, Sam. Stay safe.
See you next time, Leo.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. That's really cool. I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it's going to be an important addition to the sensing suite in vehicles going forward.
Yeah. Wow, great. Somebody's saying, in past years it was really the only technology improvement was 8-track to cassette. So.
Well, actually, there was one before that. They went from vinyl discs to 8-track,
8-track, cassette, and then CDs.
You actually back in the 50s, there were a few cars you could buy that had vinyl turntables.
Motorola.
Yep.
That's where it was a Victrola in your motor vehicle. That's where the name came from.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, of course, no, I don't think new cars have CD players in them at all, do they? Everything's digital.
Most still do, but they're getting away from it. A lot of new cars that are coming out don't have them anymore.
Right.
And I think probably within the next few years, they probably won't be available at all.
Yeah.
Although the last car with a cassette player went out of production, I think, in like 2007 or 8.
Wow. That
was actually, believe it or not, that was a Lexus.
Yeah, I think I had a 2001 Lexus, and that's how I listened to my iPod. I'd put one of those cassette adapters with a wire and plug it into the iPod. And when the next car didn't have a cassette adapter, I said, what am I going to do? We got stuck. FM, baby. No static at all. Yeah. Those didn't work all that well in the city because there was so many. There's 70 radio signals in San Francisco. That was very difficult. But once I got out here, everything works. Yeah. Sam, hope all's well. Has the weather changed yet in Ypsilanti?
It's getting cooler. Last couple nights it's gotten down. Actually, not last night, but the night before it was down to 37 overnight. Oh, and we had a frost warning. Uh-oh. And starting to see a few leaves changing colors.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, it's that time of year.
Fall is next week, I think. No, wait a minute. It's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I think.
Day after tomorrow.
Vernal equinox.
Yeah. All right. Well, stay safe, and I'll talk to you next week.
You too.
Thanks, Sam. Take care.
Right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Leo Laporte. It's magic. The tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. George in Houston, Texas is next. Hi, George.
Hey, how's it going, Leo?
It's great. How are you?
I'm doing good. A little frustrated, but I'm doing good.
Uh-oh. I bet it's a form of technology that's frustrating you.
Yes, it is. It's a technology that was around before I was born. I'm just trying to get it digital and let it go.
Okay.
So I actually came into contact with some old VHS tapes from my family.
Yeah.
And I want to make them digital. The only thing is I have Mac computers, and I do have a 1212 HD PVR.
Oh.
But I can't get the software to work. It used to have a software called like iTV.
Yeah.
And
Elgato used to make that, and Elgato has moved on to other things.
Right. And so my question is, if I buy the ITV4 or the ITV3, which the 3, if I did the calculation correctly, was like $90, is it going to work with this, piece of hardware?
Yeah, so Elgato has changed its business. They sold off the ITV stuff. But the good news is they sold it to somebody who is keeping it alive, and it's a good company. I'm escaping my memory. Corsair, that's who bought them. They make a lot of components for PCs and stuff. So Corsair bought them a couple of years ago. If it's a current, now if you're buying an old one on eBay, I'd be careful because there probably isn't a driver that'll work with the latest versions of Mac OS. But if you're buying it from Corsair, they're keeping it up to date. Are you, or did you find an old one on eBay or something like that?
No, I actually had an old one from like 2012 when I used to do some PS3 recordings.
Oh, so you have it?
And so I still have it. And like when I went to Amazon, it retails for like $399 now.
That's just some scalper who has. You know what? If I were you, I don't know. The issue is going to be drivers. Are you on Catalina now? Or are you already on the newest version? Because it definitely won't work on Catalina.
Yeah, no, I'm on Mojave.
Okay, so chances are, remember the big jump between Mojave and Catalina was they left behind 32-bit apps. So your ITV, I don't know, best thing to do, plug it in. Don't upgrade to Catalina because I'm almost certain the ITV app is not 64-bit. So plug it in. If you can find the ITV software, download it. I'm sure you can. Somebody's going to put that online and see if it works because that's a video capture card. But there are many companies now make video capture cards that'll work just fine with Mac OS and more up to date.
Do you know like any of like the top ones that would not break the bank?
Yeah, they shouldn't. Honestly, the ITV wasn't that expensive. Let me see what works with Catalina because it would be foolish to buy something now that doesn't work. That's not 64-bit.
Right.
Oh, interesting. Elgato Video Capture 2.02 and above works with Catalina.
Okay.
So that's very good news. You can download it from Elgato.com. So they're still offering the software, and it works with Catalina. Wow.
Okay. And does it have a price?
No, it's free.
It's free.
Yeah, because you have the hardware. They had to give you the software just to work with the hardware. But there are other companies. So do you want to buy new hardware? Is that what you want?
No, I want to just use the old device just to get these tapes converted and then,
Yeah. Why buy a new one? The Elgato was fine.
Right.
And there Hauppauge and many other companies make video capture cards that would work with Mac OS, but you would have to buy something new. You've already got the iTV, which was great. I had that for years, and that's the good news is Elgato is keeping it up to date. Well, wait a minute. Now, this is interesting because it says, 2.0.2 is the latest. It's free. You download it. You already have the hardware, so it'll check and say, oh, yeah, you got Elgato's iTV. I'm going to work. You're done. I'm amazed. You know what? Kudos to Elgato. They don't even make this hardware anymore. They sold it to Corsair, but they've kept the software up to date. This is so rare in this business.
It is.
But
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, and this is the easiest way to convert those VHS tapes. The other thing you can do sometimes, these were transitional objects that were sold for quite a while. There was a recorder that had a VHS slot and a DVD recorder built in, one device. I bet you you could still find those. And you'd put the VHS in the left, you'd put a burnable DVD, a rewritable DVD or writable DVD in the right. You'd press play and record, and it would transfer it over to a DVD. That's digitizing it, because that's the first step. VHS is an analog format, believe it or not. So just like reel-to-reel tape is. So you'd have to digitize it. In other words, turn those waveforms into ones and zeros and then burn it to the disc. That's what the iTV from Elgato does in any video capture card. It can take an analog input coming in over, remember those red, white, and yellow cables that came out of your VCR? Take those cables and turn it into ones and zeros that then are moved into the computer via USB. There you go. There you have it. It still happens. I can't believe the Elgato is still being made. That's awesome. That's software. That's awesome. Good on you. Good on you. Our show today brought to you by iDrive. Good on you if you are backing up everything. Bad on you if you're not, because it's not really a question of if you're going to lose data. It's only a matter of when. There are so many threats to your photos, your business documents, your emails, anything you want to save, your great American novel. There's so many threats out there. Hard drives fail. Ransomware happens. Sometimes it's just an update. Did you see? I couldn't believe it. Adobe updated Lightroom for the iPad, and in the update, deleted all the photos that you had stored on the iPad, all the Lightroom photos. Just deleted them. And then if you ask Adobe, they said, oh, yeah, sorry. They fixed the update, but that didn't mean that there weren't many people with lost photos. Bruce is on the line from Las Vegas. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I've got a problem with, I have a TiVo Edge.
Okay.
And an AV receiver, which is a Denon 3600.
Okay.
And my problem is that when I hooked up the Edge directly to the AVR to feed to my TV, every time I pause or if I want to fast forward, the screen and the sound blank out for about 5 to 6 seconds.
It's losing HDMI sync. That's very annoying.
And when the first thing I did was I went out and bought 3 brand new HDMI cables that were certified for high speed. And that didn't help. But if I connect the Edge directly to the TV, everything works fine.
That's right.
But I don't get the sound through my AVR. And if I now have it running through my Xbox, using it as a pass-through, and it's working fine, except for I don't get the video sound that I would get if I directly go into the AV receiver.
Right. Yeah, because
I'm trying to figure out if there's a setting in the AV receiver or in the TiVo that will eliminate my blanking out of this.
That is a great question. I know what's happening because we've all seen this. HDMI has a variety of ways the data can be sent, and there's a handshake that happens when you first turn on any HDMI device. It talks to the originating source and says, "What do you? Let's agree on what you want to send." That's called the sync, and sometimes can be lost. But how do you make it not be lost is the question. Stand by. We'll figure it out. Yeah. Hold on. So let me think about this, because so you say it works. It works. When doesn't it work? When it's going from the TiVo through the Denon into the TV, that's the only time it doesn't work?
Right.
Yeah.
If I connect it up to my cable satellite input on my Denon, and then into that feeds out to my 4K TV. I can't use the fast forward because by the time
because what happens is the TiVo's stopping the signal. The Denon says, "Okay, we got a new HDMI signal," and they do the handshake all over again, which takes a few seconds, and that's when you're blacking out. So I think it's the Denon that's doing that, not the TV. Obviously, it is, because when you connect the Edge directly to the TV, you don't have this problem.
Right.
So
and I don't have that problem using the Xbox as my pass-through.
Yeah.
But
so it's the Denon. So we're narrowing it down here. We're narrowing it down. The Denon, for some reason, is losing. And I've seen this with my Denon as well. Do you have a 4K Denon?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a 4K Dolby Digital.
Okay. So it understands what it's getting. Yeah.
Yes.
I would look at what you want to do is eliminate this handshake. If the Denon has settings that you can say this HDMI port is always, going to be whatever this is, you wouldn't have the handshake. Why is the Denon? I've seen this, by the way, with my Denon as well. In fact, you see it on the front. When you first put an HDMI signal into it, it thinks, and then it says, okay, this is a 5.1 Dolby encoded audio, blah, blah, blah. It's trying to figure this out. I suspect it has to do with that. It has to do with the audio decoding, because a video is going to be standard. The handshake is the audio decoding. And you've tried swapping the cables just to make sure you said you have that high-speed certified cable. That just means it's HDMI 1.3, 1.3A. Swap the cables, make sure it's not just that cable that's causing the problem, but I think you probably did that, right?
I did all three, and then the three cables I bought to replace. And
it still happens, no matter what cable.
Were 2.1 certified, so they're the high speed.
So I think that maybe what you want to do is tell the Denon, let me think. You could perhaps be going to the TiVo settings and tell it what sound to always set. What you don't want is for the Denon, it's either sound or it could be copy protection, HDCP. And what you don't want is for the Denon to say, "Oh, this is a new signal. We gotta renegotiate," and that's what's happening every single time.
Well, I went through on all the settings and took it off of automatic and set it to like 1080p, 60 frames on both the AV and off of the, and even on the TV, I set that.
Good, and that didn't help. How about audio? Was there an audio setting that you could do that with?
Yeah, no, there is
just
no audio.
Just the video,
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. Maybe somebody listening will be familiar with this. I think we know what's going on. The Denon is losing sync and renegotiating every time you pause the video, fast forward. You do anything that stops the signal. The Denon says, "Oops, I lost the signal. Now we have to renegotiate," and that's why you got that 5-second, 3-second dropout.
Well, I figured once I put it into the Xbox and everything worked fine, then I know it's the Denon not.
You've narrowed it down
properly.
You can pass through the Xbox. I don't think that would fix it. You really want to go through the Denon because that's your receiver. That's where all the audio decoding happens. So I understand that.
The Denon is a 9-point. I have 9 speakers on there plus my subwoofer. I want to be able to use that. If I'm going through the Xbox, I can only get 7.1, and I'm not really getting my back surround sound speakers working with it.
I would, of course, look for a firmware update on the Denon. You've got that connected to the internet, right?
Yeah, I've already checked. It says that it's up to date.
Yeah, I get that regularly with the Denon, which is nice. I'm always encouraged. I have 2 Denon AV receivers. I'm very happy with those.
I was going to go out and buy a new AV receiver, but I went looking. Nobody has anything anymore.
Oh, really?
Everything's either renewed. Yeah,
That's
went
interesting.
on Amazon. And everything's a renewed, but nothing's new out of the box. I went to Best Buy, Fry's. Nobody has much of anything in stock.
Wow. That's odd.
And everything I looked at that I liked, that had the Adobe Digital and all the Adobe Vision and all that stuff, it says out of stock.
Wow.
And they don't have it. Or unless I want to spend $3,000 on they have a lot of $3,000.
They got those, yeah. But I'm looking at the chat room. I wonder if anybody in the chat room has any solutions. Yeah, maybe go to the forums on Denon. If it's a common problem, somebody will have noted that. I think you did all the work that you did the correct work, which was to identify the Denon as the culprit. But now we've got to figure out how we solve it. And I just don't know how to solve it. That's really interesting.
I guess I'll have to call Denon Monday morning and see what they have to say.
Yeah. And, really a firmware update is probably what would fix this. So maybe it's up to them to say, oh, yeah. But, there've got to be enough people with TiVo Edges and Denons that they – I don't know what the solution is on it. And the chat room doesn't seem to have any idea either. So
I'll just call Denon.
You stumped us. Well, good question. Maybe I'll be honest. Maybe somebody listening has had that problem. We'll call in, Bruce. So don't give up.
No, I'll keep checking the website on your website.
I appreciate it, Bruce.
One more thing.
Sure.
I am really disappointed about not having CES this year, not because of the show, but because it would have been the first chance that I would have had to go to the Boring Company's.
You can go through that tunnel
that they put in.
Yeah, they finished it. Yeah.
No, they're just about done with it from the last reports, and I really wanted to try that out. And
wouldn't
now
that have been fun? Do you have a Tesla?
No, I can't afford one. I ended up buying a Ford Fusion Energy.
Nice. Oh, I love the Energies. Yeah, those are nice. Yeah. Do you live in town, or do you live in Henderson, or where in Vegas do you live?
No, I'm on the very east side of town. You know where Sam's Town is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Out on Boulder Highway.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm
Nice.
just close.
We
to
were
there.
thinking of moving to Vegas just because I wanted to go to CES and hop in the monorail to get there, but or the Boring.
You know, the convention center is putting a bid in for the monorail because the monorail, when they put that in, has an exclusive that no other transit company can come in with a system. If the LVCA buys the bankrupt monorail,
and they could support the Boring. Yeah.
They can get out there, and there's already 2 hotels that are talking to the Boring Company about tunneling under the Strip and putting a Boring Company transit system in under the Strip.
This is why I love Vegas. It's in the future. Hey, I got to run, Bruce. Great to talk to you. You're living in the future, Bruce. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. I'm the tech guy. Time to talk computers, internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, Denon receivers, 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. I had to break off our conversation with Bruce about his weird situation, but I think we narrowed it down that there was something about his receiver. I've seen this happen when you got HDMI devices. They have to negotiate the video frame rate, the audio decoding, and that negotiation takes a second or two, the handshake. And for some reason, when the TiVo is stopped or fast-forwarded, the Denon says, I guess it's some new device when it comes back. And they do the negotiation again. That means his picture drops out for a few seconds. That's very annoying. And I think we narrowed it down. He tried different cables and so forth, tried different devices. It really is an interaction between the TiVo and the Denon. And I think Denon has to fix it. Not an unusual problem, that handshake thing. But boy, is that annoying. It's really frustrating. Let's move on to line 1, Miguel in Chicago, Illinois. Hello, Miguel.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm just here. I had a question about the TikTok ban. I'm sure you've heard of it.
We talked about it at the beginning of the hour, last hour. You bet. It's crazy, man. This is a wild soap opera, wild ride. Are you a TikToker, Miguel?
No, I'm a casual user, but I have friends that use it every day.
Oh, it's very entertaining. It's hard, the thing I don't like about TikTok is it's addictive. You start flipping through those videos, you can't stop.
Oh, yeah.
They're very good at 2 things. One, making it very easy to create videos. And they did that really smart thing where you can share, take somebody else's audio and use it. So there's some great lip syncing. There's great music. There's great, they've really, that was smart. So they made it very easy to do that. And then the other thing they did, which I think was brilliant, was they've got an algorithm, a computer algorithm that brings the most interesting content to the top. And you can even tell this before you sign in. If you just use TikTok without signing in, just go to the website, it'll give you the funniest videos automatically right from the top. And then, of course, as you sign in, once you sign in, create an account and use it, it starts to tailor them to your interests. But even without that, they've done a very, very good job. So it is a shame because I know there's so many people, your generation, who use this, and it's a creative outlet for them. They've created stars. Little Nas X, Old Town Road, I think, became a hit because of TikTok.
Yep, I believe so.
Yeah. So the question is, what's going to happen to TikTok? And no one knows. It's in the nutty hands of the federal government at this point.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of those nutty stories that makes no sense. I don't think the Commerce Department of the White House has the ability to tell Android and iOS, take that app out of your store. It's illegal. because it isn't illegal. It is not illegal. This is the important thing. TikTok is not breaking any laws. You might say, and quite reasonably perhaps, oh, well, it's owned by a Chinese company. They're going to be using it to spy on us or something, you know, some bad thing, blah, blah, blah. But there's no law been broken, so there's no justification for the federal government to say stop using that app. There will be lawsuits for the next 3 years. So what a surprise. It was supposed to be banned this morning. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. What a surprise.
Now, in the case that it does get banned, would you still be able to access the service with a VPN or like? No.
So, well, it depends on what the White House does. So here's a couple of things they can do. One thing is they order Google and Apple to remove it from the stores. Depending on the political fortunes of Google and Apple in the White House, they may or may not comply, at which point there's not much the White House can do. They can't. What are they going to do? They're going to send stormtroopers over to the Apple campus and say, take it out. There's nothing they can do. So that's one thing. But even if they said, take it out of the store, if you already had it on your phone, and I bet you a lot of people downloaded it yesterday thinking, well, I better get it now. Would it still work?
My Android.
Yeah. Would it still work? Well, yeah, it would still work until, and this is another thing the White House could do, they cut off the servers and said, well, but by the way, there's no precedent for that in the White House or federal government or state governments, local governments. Nobody's ever done that before. They do it in China. They have something called the Great Firewall of China. You can use Facebook and Twitter in China, but only with a VPN, as you discussed. But that's China. We don't have a facility in the United States for doing that, and thank goodness. We don't want to be like that. So it's unknown how they would do that. The third thing they could do, and this would work, because this does exist, and they've done it before, they could freeze the funds. They could say no bank, no credit card could deal with this Chinese company. And they did that with Iran for a while. They froze their funds. They have that legal capability. This is a government, a Chinese company that we feel is a threat to the United States. So no money transfers, which means, in fact, this is the thing I think that most worried TikTok. They couldn't sell advertising. They couldn't pay. They have a $200 million fund that they're paying contributors. They couldn't do that because their funds would be frozen. They wouldn't be able to execute financial transactions in the U.S. That is, in a way, choking off its lifeblood. So that would be devastating. And I think that's the only legal thing the White House can do right now. They threatened that early on. They're going back and forth. It becomes muddied because there's so many weird angles to this. Like Microsoft tried to buy it, then TikTok said, no, we don't want you. The Chinese government said, well, even if you do buy it, you're not going to get any of the secret sauce, that algorithm that chooses the next video. We can't give you that. And then Oracle got into the picture. There's really no reason they would be interested in TikTok. They have a database business. So I guess the TikTok would be running on Oracle servers, and maybe the White House likes that because at least that's a U.S. company, so the data would be stored on U.S. servers. And would it be available to China? It's unknown. It's unknown because it would still have to go through the app, and I don't know. Anyway, Oracle's bid was accepted, except that they couldn't buy it outright. They could only invest. They only invested 12.5%. So they're now a, quote, technology partner. No one knows what that would mean.
Yeah.
It's all cuckoo. And then, of course, the president said, oh, by the way, you got to give $5 billion to my fund to teach American kids that George Washington chopped down a cherry tree. It's very weird. It's part of this strange political climate we're in today. I don't think there's and there's some merit to the idea that the Chinese government, because they, just as our government, by the way, U.S. government can do it too, can subpoena any company in China and say, we want the data, and by the way, you can't tell anybody. Well, guess what? So can our country. So the U.S. government could go to TikTok or Google or Apple, and routinely does, and says, we need all this information, and by the way, don't tell anybody we asked. So, but the Chinese government could do that. So maybe there's something, I don't know. You have TikTok on your Android phone. Are you worried that the government of China wants to know where Miguel is today?
Not really.
Who cares?
I don't have anything to hide anyway.
Who cares?
So
Everybody else knows. Facebook knows. Instagram knows. Everybody else knows.
Oh, yeah.
Who cares? Whether you have something to hide or not, who cares? I don't understand really the threat. But
yeah,
so it's one of those things. The fog of the fog of war has enveloped this, and I don't think anybody knows already. Now he did this, by the way, also with WeChat, which is a Chinese chat application, not widely used in the U.S. You're not going to get a lot of Americans saying, "Hey, I want my WeChat." But even then, a court in California has already said, "No, wait a minute, you can't cut off WeChat." So the courts have already stymied that. So it's just one of those messes that happens in this world. And I don't think waving the American flag and saying, "Well, that's Chinese. Oh, let's get rid of it," it makes any sense at all. This is if you cut off every Chinese product from the U.S. economy, say goodbye to your iPhone, say goodbye to your laptop, say goodbye to your computer. So technology, it may be invented in the U.S. That's what it always says on an Apple box, designed in California, but it's always manufactured in China.
In China, yep.
So this is we're a very interdependent situation economically, globally, and you can't just cut off your arm and say, "Well, now all done. God bless America." That's not going to solve it. It's a much more complicated, nuanced thing, I think. Anyway, thanks for the question, Miguel. What do you think? Would you like TikTok to persist? Are you afraid of the TikTok?
Not really. I think they should continue to be here because they did inspire a lot of people to do great things.
It's really creative.
A lot of people, have revenue just like they do on YouTube or stuff like that. So it's pretty creative. And
I have no problem.
It may be a big thing, but
if the Defense Department says, as it has, nobody in the service should be have TikTok on their phone, that's fine. I agree. Goldman Sachs said that. Nobody should have TikTok on their phone. We're worried that they're going to, I don't know what, steal our money. That's fine. Any private entity can do that. The military can do that. That makes sense, in fact. That's sensible. But it's a long way from that to banning it in the United States. We've not done that before, and I don't want to open that door.
Right.
Thank you, Miguel.
Yep.
Great question. Have a great day. Take care. Oh, it's time to say hello to privacy. Privacy. Do what you want to do, but privately. I just made up a new jingle. I love privacy.com. I use this. Privacy.com. Look, we know. I've told you a million times, don't use the same password everywhere. So why are you using the same credit card number everywhere? Oh, that's just a mistake. Privacy.com gives you a brand new virtual Visa or MasterCard number for every purchase you make online. I do not buy anything online without using Privacy.com. I create a new number. There's two things you can do with it. You can make the number one-time use only. You burn it once you've used it. Nice. Or you can tie it to the merchant. So, for instance, all my Amazon purchases go through Privacy.com. No one, even if they got the credit card number, no one else could use it. I love that. I have a browser extension. You can put it on Chrome or on Firefox. You can use their apps on iOS or Android. You can link your virtual cards to your U.S. checking account or debit card, and then you're done. Every time I'm online, I'll just press the privacy button in my browser, and I say, I need a new card. It says, for whom? And I say, for Macy's or whatever. It gives me a new number, new expiration date, 5 years in the future, a new security number, and they don't care what name or address you use. Merchant will ask you for a name and address, a zip code, that kind of thing. You can use anything you want. John Doe, Anytown, USA, 123 Main Street, and it'll go through. So it's private in more ways than one. Privacy lets you take control of your finances. You can set a spending limit on any card. It's great for subscriptions because you can pause any card anytime. You can delete it, of course, but pausing it just stops it. And you'll always get notified if there are declined charges on it. So if a card number has been compromised, you'll know immediately. But you don't care because they can't use it. You never have to worry about canceling subscriptions or free trials ever again. Just pause the card. It's over. And you'll never get accidentally billed twice or upgraded without your consent. And with the card sharing feature, this is new in privacy.com, you can easily and safely send someone a privacy card straight from your dashboard with a few clicks. This is the desktop version. I do that. My mom, for instance, I want to buy her dinner. So I gave her a privacy.com account, a credit card number, that's for mom. It says Mom's DoorDash. She can use it anytime she wants. The way I sent it to her, I didn't text it to her. I used privacy. That's awesome. Just click the share button when you're looking at a card, enter the email address. Privacy handles the rest. And by the way, it's secure. You'll feel safe about making purchases anywhere online, of course, because it's PCI DSS compliant. Same security standards as your bank. Sensitive information stored at privacy.com is secured with military-grade encryption, and they use split key encryption. So no one employee has the whole key. They split it up among employees, which is brilliant. It's brilliant. It's like in the nuclear warhead missile silo. It takes 2 keys to unlock. Privacy, of course, doesn't sell your data. Your information is safe for them. Now, there's 3 different plans. The free plan lets you create 12 cards a month, 3 a week, secure merchant locked or single use. But I do the paid plan. There's 2 paid plans. There's Pro or Teams. And I do the Pro plan because I pay $10 a month, but I get 1% cash back. And I use privacy so much, it means I get money back. It pays for itself, which is awesome. And Pro plan gives me more credit cards, too. They also have the Teams plan if you've got a business and you want even more credit cards and more benefits. Privacy recently launched their card issuing API. So if you're a developer or a small business owner and you're looking to create cards at scale, you can use that. I just love it. Privacy.com/techguy. Sign up for an account. New customers will get $5 to spend on their first purchase, limited time. Free money. That's so that you'll use that address, okay? I want you to do that. Privacy.com/techguy. I just love privacy. I use it for all my online transactions. I have for years. Privacy.com/techguy. Highly recommended. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo. The phone number. Back to the phones we go. Next on the line, it's John from Gridley, California. Hello, John.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Good. My question today is about the internet browsers.
Yeah.
And what to use when you do your banking and stuff, because I know there's so many, and it's frustrating. And is it better to use a live CD like on Linux?
So what are your concerns about banking? You're afraid that somebody's going to steal your password, get into your account, steal your money, that kind of thing? Or
that kind of stuff.
Okay. So a browser doesn't protect you against that. Some browsers will protect your privacy. Some are better than that than others. So it won't won't tell the bank anything you've been doing online, that kind of thing, or tell your internet service provider, that kind of thing. But browsers themselves, all browsers are roughly equally secure as long as they're getting regularly patched. You wouldn't want to use a browser that is not getting patched. For instance, an old version of Internet Explorer, or maybe you're using an older. If you were still running Windows 7, you might not be getting browser updates, that kind of thing. But as long as you're using an up-to-date operating system and your browser is regularly getting updated, they're all roughly equally in their security. The issue isn't so much the browser, it's the system. And there's all sorts of ways you could be fooled. For instance, and by the way, the weak point could also be you. If you got an email from your bank, you said, oh, wow. And it says, we're a little concerned about a number of foreign transactions on your account. Can you click this link, log in, and verify these? And you go, what? Foreign transactions? What? And you click the link in the email, and you get the bank's login page, which, by the way, really looks real. And you log in, and it wasn't the bank. It was a phishing attack. And that page you just filled out went right to the hacker who just got your bank login and password. So that's the kind of thing that can happen that is dangerous. And it happens all the time. You've probably gotten emails from your bank, certainly many of us have, that aren't really from the bank. I get emails from other people's banks, and I know it's not real because that's not my bank. I don't have any accounts there. So that's one way. There are things like cross-site scripting, where if you were on a malicious site and then went to your bank account, a malicious site could overlay the login with their own information, and so or their own fields, and you would type it and it would go to the malicious site instead of your site. Any well-written browser, and this is all the big ones, Chrome, of course, Firefox, Edge from Microsoft, and Safari. Those four, they're all equal in terms of blocking that kind of thing. It's always possible, but that's why they're always patching it. More it's to be worried about is you and, of course, your operating system. And you update that regularly, too?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
So if you're really worried, one of the steps you can take is, you just described it, is not use your operating system in case it's been compromised. For instance, a bad guy, you could visit a site that somebody has put some malicious code on. This is not unusual. That looks at your operating system, tries a bunch of things, looks for backdoors, and maybe it worked because your operating system hasn't been updated yet, and it modified your operating system so that every keystroke you make is automatically sent to the bad guy. That would be an example of a backdoor that then when you went to your bank, it could tell you were on your bank and it would see your password. Now I got it. So there's a few things you can do. One is to obviously keep your operating system up to date and secure. Another thing, by the way, which would help a lot, and your bank probably supports this, is turn on two-factor authentication. Because every attack I just described gets your password, but it doesn't get that second factor. And so if you haven't yet turned on and all banks will offer at least send me a text message to confirm this. If you haven't turned that on, turn that on. That slows the bad guys down considerably. Two-factor, yeah, good. That's your best friend. If you wanted to, I know people who keep a Chromebook around just for tasks where they really want to be sure it's safe. Chromebooks are much more difficult. I would venture to say almost impossible. You couldn't put a keystroke logger on it. It's very hard to make a Chromebook insecure. They automatically get updates. The browser in there automatically gets updated. And if you just use it for banking, you're not even doing anything that could potentially be dangerous. So that's another thing. That CD you described, that'd be another way to do it. Put another operating system, a Linux operating system on CD. Boot to that. Since you're not using it and nothing writes to the CD, as long as it starts secure, it can never get insecure. So that's another thing. But I don't do that. I think those... Certainly, if you're really worried, and you should be more worried, by the way, if you're a target. So if you're very rich and well known to be rich, if I were Warren Buffett, I'd have very good SecOps to make sure that none of my banking information was stolen, because there's a few billion in there. If you're a politician, Google has, for instance, some stepped-up security they offer to political candidates and political offices to make sure that they don't get hacked like they did in 2016. So if you're a target, then maybe you would want to take these extra steps. But just a normal person, I think security really involves keeping yourself up to date. Browser, anything that goes online, operating system, using two-factor authentication, never reusing passwords, use long, strong passwords. I recommend a password manager so you don't have to remember them. Those things, I think, for non-targeted individuals are more than enough. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So I don't blame you. And if you really are paranoid, yeah, putting a Linux operating system on a CD and only using that would be really good, because nothing could write to that CD.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So there's no other browser that's better than another browser?
No, because it isn't. Yeah, Brave. So the differences in browsers are mostly privacy, not security. That's why I asked you, what is it you're worried about right up front? Because, Brave is a more private browser. Firefox is a more private browser. Chrome and Safari, although Safari is getting better and better, Chrome is not such a private browser.
Right, right.
But that's privacy, not security. I would say absolutely. And, Brave is built on the Chrome open source source. So I would say Chrome and Brave are both strong and secure. Same with Firefox. But there's no browser that doesn't occasionally have a problem. I think probably Chrome or Brave or Edge, which is also based on Chromium, those three are going to be very good, because Google has the best security people in the world. So they are really good at banging on security issues. But they would be marginally more secure if you know.
Right, because a lot of times when you go on YouTube and you look, people say, Brave's better, Chrome's better. The choice in browsers is your personal taste. Honestly. Gotcha.
It is not. No one is much more secure than the other. When it comes to privacy, you can always add extensions that make you more private. I use Firefox with uBlock Origin, which is a really good ad blocker, but it also blocks things like crypto miners and things. I think that's and Firefox blocks Facebook and blocks a lot of social tagging stuff. So I use that. I think Brave is very good for privacy as well. I think they're an excellent choice. It's what you like.
Right.
I mean, the only one I would say maybe not great on privacy mostly is because it's Google, because it's an ad company.
Right.
You know, and so they're, you know, all browsers allow things like fingerprint tracking and stuff that would be nice to stop. I think Firefox does the best job of trying to prevent that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But security, no, it doesn't matter. It's about privacy.
All righty. Well, thank you.
Hey, a great question. Thank you.
All righty. Okay.
It's time for Chris Marquardt, the photo guy. He's my photo sensei at sensei.photo. Teaches us everything we need to know about getting better images. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how's it going?
Good to see you. Today we're doing light.
Yes, and it's a topic that we've talked about before, and we cannot talk enough about because light is so important. And you know, we have for the last few weeks we have done this new format where I've given you some visuals to work along. So it's a bit of a mix. So whoever's watching this on video, and
I should explain that
big light bulb go off above their head.
Even though this is a radio show, we do video.
Oh, I know, yeah.
We stream video. But also, after the fact, you can go to the website, techguylabs.com, and we'll put a link to all the pictures so you can follow along if you want to see them as well.
But I'll make sure it will work for those who only listen, of course. So we've talked about color, about reflections, about shadows, symmetry, balance, transparency, and now I want to talk about light, and especially about some of the important aspects of light. Because when you look at light, I mean, light is photography, right? No light, no pictures.
That's what it means.
We need
writing
light,
with light, photo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. So doing this, it helps if we know some of the important properties of light. And let's just start with something that's quite obvious: color. Light can have different moods, and those moods are expressed in colors. So cold light is usually the light that has way more blue than other tones in it. You know, we have this visual spectrum from blue to red, and there's green and yellow and all stuff somewhere in between. But the blue side of the spectrum is cold. This feels cool. So here's a good example. I think it's a picture by Don Komarechka. His frozen soap bubbles, and of course the content of the image, the soap bubble, in winter. Combined with bluish light, which makes it feel even more cool. That just strengthens that mood. You know, it helps the mood. The next picture is kind of similar. It's a cool bluish kind of light, and it's looks like morning dew on plants, but it's definitely not a warm picture. Doesn't feel warm.
So do you feel, when you look at a cold blue picture, do you feel chilly?
Of course, that's what it's there for. Yeah. Unless it's, let's say, a Caribbean sunset and someone turned the white balance all the way over to blue, and then there's a mismatch, you know? Then you have the warm beach with a sunset, but you have cold colors. That doesn't go together. So you want or it strengthens the message if the color fits the mood in the picture. So we'll stick with cold for another couple of photos. There's one where there's kind of a bit of discrepancy that we're looking at a light fixture which looks incandescent, but it's greenish, bluish. So that feels like a mismatch, and that doesn't really work for me, right? It kind of, that should be warm. And of course, in the next picture, we have this tree full of LEDs, and they're all blue. And this is kind of a very artificial kind of thing, but it feels a bit like this might be a frozen tree, right? It would be a good fit if that was in winter.
I love the blue glow all the way around it too. That halo is so cool. Yeah.
So if we go on to the warm light, then, you know, there's a photo of just warm light outside. It's not even a very spectacular photo, but just the warmth of the light, doesn't that make you feel a bit more cozy, a bit more, it feels better.
Yeah.
It feels better than the
like
cold. And of course, there's different kinds of lights. If we look at a candle, if we look at the next picture, fire is always warm, so it better be warm in the photo. So if you play with your white balance in your camera, try that on a candle. Try cold white balance on a candle, warm white balance, and you'll see that on the warm side it helps a lot. What's also nice and warm is incandescent lights. You have those good old light bulbs that have wires in them that glow because electricity is going through them. I don't know if we have that many of them left, but
they're specialty products now.
They are, yes, they are. And this is really warm light. And we used to, a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, when we didn't have LEDs everywhere, that was still kind of the norm, that an indoor setting was warm, felt warm. So anyway, next kind of setting is the sunset, of course. The sun being low in the sky means that a lot of the colder light is filtered out because it goes through a lot of atmosphere. So it turns warm. Beautiful light. And of course, if you combine that with other things like in that other shot, there's this bird in silhouette in front of a very warm sky.
That's beautiful.
I think the photographer probably twisted the
made a little
white
redder.
balance knobs a bit there. Yeah. So that is kind of cool. And then with the next shot, we get into some sort of it's warm, it's sunset, and it's nice warm feeling. And also the light direction becomes important, right? So you look at that light source, and it's coming from the back. If you go to the next one where we have all the shadows coming from a point light source, we talked about this weeks ago. The point light source makes hard shadows. So that gives you not just an indication of, is that a small light source? Like in this case, that's a street light, and that is relatively small. But it also gives an indication, the shadow gives an indication where that comes from. So it makes the light very directional all of a sudden. Sunlight is the same thing. It's a point light source in the sky. While it's huge, it's a point light source. So that is pretty cool. The next 3 pictures, the same principle. We have point light sources that make shadows that give us a directionality.
Very strong shadows. There's one source, so it's one shadow, basically.
I like the next one even more because there's so much geometry in that, so much. It's almost like it's drawn with a ruler. So
it's taken under the stands at a football game or something like that, and so you get lots of shadows from the girders and the staircases. That's kind of fun, isn't it? I really like that.
It is. And then if you go forward a couple of more photos, we end up with soft light. So you end up.
Oh, that's nice and soft. Yeah.
So that is a very big light
soft
source.
Pink light. Yeah.
It's not a point light source. It's a big light source, which makes very soft shadows and just wraps around things in a very different way. So those are
on TV. I always prefer to have a soft light source than a hard light source.
It takes all those little wrinkles away and everything. It makes
smooths it all
very
out.
Pleasing. Very, very pleasing.
Flowers look great in this soft light, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Soft light, we think of it as more beautiful, right? Oh, that's fun.
And that's backlight. This is another light. There's like I think you should link that gallery because there's so many different angles of light and directionality, and in the end we're looking at practical lights, which are lights that are visible in the shot. They don't just light something; they are actually part of the shot. So there's really so much. I mean, I could talk about this for an entire day because
we have a gallery, and Chris has posted it at tfttf.com/light. And it's just a collection of photos from Flickr that really show some really fun and interesting use of light, different sources, soft versus hard, light reflections,
and directions.
Yeah, this is really
colors.
nice.
I mean, it's really And if you look at that gallery under the aspect of light, then I think a lot of things become a bit more clear and might influence your photography a bit.
Chris Marquardt is our sensei at sensei.photo, where he teaches and coaches photographers. It's a really great site, sensei.photo. When we come back, I'll tell you what our assignment is. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
See, 9 minutes, you didn't get through it.
I kind of ran out of time there.
Yeah, because I slow you down. Some great photos, though. Oh, man, these are really, really, really fun. I love them all.
It is a really good exercise to search for photos under different aspects. That's a good exercise.
Somebody took Christmas lights and put them on the dog.
That's what we call practical lights. That's the light is part of the photo, but it's also lighting the photo. So practical lights are amazing. You can do so much great stuff.
And I love it that she chose to print it in black and white, because that's because sometimes you'd be swayed by the colors, but just the black and white really shows, it tells the story. This is great. A train in the snow, the light on the front.
That's probably the flattest light you can get. There's
snow.
There's no point light source in the sky. The snow reflects all the light back, so you end up with like virtually no shadows, no nothing. It's it doesn't help us because we like contrast. As people, we like to see contrast. So if you have the lack of contrast, that makes things a bit more difficult to handle.
Contrast looks sharp, looks clean, looks crisp, looks technically better. Like the technique was better. But that's just a matter of light. I love that.
But light makes contrast. That's the thing. If you light a shot well, if you have nice backlight, then it feels sharper. People ask me often, how do I get these sharp shots that you get? And I said, often it's not the sharpness, it's the light.
Right. Really nice. Really fun.
Okay.
What's our assignment again? Remind me.
It's reflection.
Oh, it's R. Okay.
It's reflection, and it's up for probably 2 more weeks.
Okay, good. 2 more weeks to reflection. Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. See you in a week.
Have a good one. Bye-bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo is the phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Rick on the line from Placerville, California. Hello, Rick. Did I press the wrong button? I did not. Rick, are you there? Uh-oh. Let me put you on hold, Rick. We'll see if we can figure out what's going on and move to Jerry in Hatfield, Pennsylvania. Hi, Jerry.
Hello. Hi, Leo.
Good to talk to you.
I don't know if this is possible, but I watch a YouTube video from people in Okinawa. They're a young couple.
Mm-hmm.
When I was there in the 70s, though, I could see how much it's changed. Mm-hmm. And they take a tour through the city, whatever. Is there any way they can embed their GPS coordinates into the video? And when I watch the video, bring up the Google Earth and follow along with them.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be very cool. That way you can go to the you can turn your camera left or right to see the stuff they're not filming. And one person, all you see is the person talking to you as they're walking. You don't see very much scenery.
You want to see more of Okinawa because you want to see how it's changed.
Oh, it's changed a lot.
Yeah. I bet it has. Yeah, that would be something that YouTube would have to build in. They could easily add it as text, as a caption on the photo, or I'm sorry, on the video.
No. If you could link the video, YouTube video into Google Earth.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think they could do that using a new feature that is built into YouTube. They've just recently kind of enhanced, which allows the person putting the video up to have notes at the bottom of the video that are automatically linked to a time code in the video. And then that note can have an arbitrary link assigned to it. So if the person making the video, they would have to do this, Google wouldn't do it, but if the person making the video wanted to take the time to add those chapter markings and to associate a GPS location in Google Maps with it, they totally could do it. So what you need to do is persuade them, because that's going to be a lot of work on their part. But or you could do it. You could do it and repost the video and say, "Hey, I added this to it," and as long as they don't get mad and say, "Take down our video," that would be a nice feature. I would think they would like it.
Well, I suggested it to him. Baby version, and he did put in the corner of the video. He put a square with the where he was on the island, but it disappeared. Just in and out.
Yeah, no, I like the idea of making it a link. So, YouTube chapter markings is what you want to have him look into, and he could easily. What they do now is if you're putting a marker in your YouTube video. And there are a number of videos on YouTube that explain how to do this. You could add that to the progress bar so that you would see it in the progress bar. And then that chapter can actually show up in the show notes below it. You know how on a YouTube video there's comments and stuff, but right before the comments there's show notes. And they could literally have each of those chapters associated with a URL that would pull in Google Maps or Google Earth and load it up. I think that's a really interesting idea for videos that are tours, but that's on them. I don't know of any automatic way to do that, but it is something actually Google's really recently enhanced this chapter marking capability in YouTube, and I'm seeing people use it in all sorts of really interesting ways. So I'm glad people are doing it.
Hey, Leo, why have you here? How do you like your burger?
The what?
How do you like it? I'm having sweet corn on the cob and a hamburger. How do you like your burger?
Oh, can you make it medium rare, please?
That's what I get.
Oh, and load it up, man. I want it loaded up. Are you making it on the grill or are you making it on the stove?
On the grill.
Of course.
On the grill.
It's funny that you should say that, because about 3 weeks ago, here we are in quarantine, not eating out, and I said to my wife, I have a craving for a hamburger. She said, tomorrow night we'll make hamburgers. And we made them on the Big Green Egg, my grill. Oh, they were so good. But the sad thing is it didn't cure my craving. Now I want it worse.
I'll fulfill your craving with my
Send me a hamburger. FedEx it. Maybe wrap it nice.
Don't forget about that Hatfield pork sausage.
I know. I haven't. Believe me. It's good to talk to you again, Jerry. Have a good one. Take care.
Bye.
Let's see if we can get Rick on now. Rick from Placerville, California. Can you hear me now, Rick?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh, you were muted, weren't you?
I must have been, I don't understand the platform on some of these phones sometimes.
I know.
That's one of you talk about annoying. There's a few things anymore.
Well, it's supposed, all phones are supposed to, when you put them to your ear, they're supposed to blank the screen. But I've had that problem with a number of phones where they don't. And of course, there's a mute button right where your cheek is. And I've had it happen to me many times. So I'm sorry.
Yes, that's another thing, too. If you think that's bad, try listening to your music when it comes to the applications of iTunes, iHeart, or the TuneIn, I should say, not iTunes, but beside the point. When I'm listening to even podcasts, now, first I thought it was coming in my car's paneling as far as, the Bluetooth Alexa that it has and all the wireless connections that you would put in. Okay, I'm using Bluetooth. I'm turning in and saying I'm listening to your podcast or I'm listening to music. Now, what I want to do is I want to turn the volume on the phone high to the highest point because I get the oomph out of that sound as far as the music goes and control, obviously, the volume on my paneling on my car, that has, the push, the screens and everything like that. It's got to be the phone because the phone will lower your volume like every 20 minutes or something.
It'll just go down a little bit? Does it come back?
No.
Okay.
It just shuts it. It cuts it in half where you can barely hear it over the...
So there are a couple of things that can happen here. And Android or iOS, both phones will do this. If you... one of the features of turn-by-turn directions, for instance, is that it will duck, they call it ducking, the volume as it gives you the turn-by-turn and then turn it back up. It'll happen also sometimes with notifications. So if a text message comes in and, when you get a text message, you get a ding or a boop or a bloop, that sometimes
That's common. I understand.
Yeah, it will mute it. And it sounds like it might be muting it for some sort of audio input and then not restoring it. So that's one possibility. Phones also have, in some cases, health protection to protect you from having all volume too loud, and so sometimes they'll have automatic reduction. It doesn't. In both cases, this doesn't sound like it's doing what it's supposed to do. It sounds like a bug, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, no one knows either. I've called the Toyotas, but it's not really.
It's not. No, it's the phone.
We have an auto leveler in there because sometimes it'll turn the volume up when you're going faster speed with the windows.
Well, that's true too. Your system, your audio system in your car may well have that feature. A lot of them do, but that turns it up when it's loud, down when you're going slower. I don't think it would, and I've never noticed it making such a big difference. It sounds like this is making so much of a difference you can't barely hear it. Are you sure that the thing that you're putting the phone in isn't accidentally hitting the volume button?
It cuts it right down. Now I've gone online and I've read what to do to relieve the problem, but the problem is each phone has its own instructions, and we'll work on an Android, or we'll work on an iTunes, or we'll work on a.
It should work for all apps. What is the phone you're using?
I'm using a Motorola G7.
So it should work. I'm guessing it's not TuneIn, it's not iHeart, that it's the phone.
Right. And
so I would go look in the Motorola settings. Motorola does, I believe, have hearing protection, so I make sure that you've turned that off, and I would also look at ducking, automatic ducking for turn-by-turn directions. The thing is, you're not hearing a boop or bleep or a direction. It's just ducking it. So it sounds like it's a spurious signal. Look, computers do weird things. Let's face it. And sometimes it's hard to figure out why it's doing what it's doing. My guess is it's doing that on purpose because there's a loud, there's something going on that it wants you to hear. But you got to figure out what it is if you can, because I honestly know what that's coming from. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. We talked to Chris Marquardt last hour. I didn't give you the assignment. Every month, Chris gives us a word or a concept to send us out into the field. Take pictures. Can be with any kind of camera, your smartphone, all the way up to your fancy DSLR. But the point is really to get out there and take pictures. He's been going through the alphabet. We're down to R. And so the assignment this month is reflection. You got a couple more weeks left if you want to take part in this. It's not a contest. There's no prize. It's just really an excuse to get out there and take photos. Go out, take a picture illustrating the word, the idea, the concept, reflection. If you got something you like, upload it to Flickr. That's a free photo sharing site at flickr.com. And we have a group on there, the Tech Guy group. You'll know you're in the right spot because there's 13,000 members and tens of thousands of photos. Join the Tech Guy group. It's free. None of this costs anything. And you can start uploading your favorite reflection images, one per week. So you got 2 more weeks, 2 more chances. If you would, though, when you do that, tag them. Flickr is all about tagging photos. Add a tag that's TG for Tech Guy, reflection. So we know that this is your submission for the reflection gallery, TG reflection. And then Chris will take a look at the gallery in a couple of weeks and pick out a few photos to talk about. So you might get a little attention on the radio. That's the only reward. That and getting out there and taking pictures. I went out for a walk last night in the golden hour, the sunset hour, and I kicked myself for not bringing my camera. This is just a reminder to take your camera with you everywhere. 8888 Ask Leo. We go on with the show to Karen in Tri-Cities, Washington. Hi, Karen.
Hi there.
Hey.
Yes, I've had like 2 weeks of computer strange problems.
Uh-oh.
Equals 2 weeks of stress for me. So I tried to boil this down so that it can have time on the radio. So I started about 2 weeks ago getting a lot of unwanted, unknown emails, and some look so legitimate, even including like storage.google.apis.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. We all get those, yeah.
Well, then it became so many, I decided to do some scans. So I did a Malwarebytes and I did the Windows Security 2 short scans.
Good.
And it found nothing. But then I decided I ran the 16-hour-long full scan.
Good.
And the last 2 minutes of it, it said it found a severe threat. And so I did the action.
Is this the Microsoft product or Malwarebytes?
I have both on my...
Which one found the severe threat?
The Windows Security.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would trust that more than Malwarebytes. Companies that charge for anti-malware solutions are often incented to find problems. Otherwise, why did I buy this thing?
Yeah, okay. I just had the 14-day temporary.
Yeah, they want you to buy it. But the fact that Microsoft said so, that's good. I mean, it's not good, obviously, but it's more trustworthy.
No.
It's more trustworthy. So did it tell you what this severe threat was?
Yes, it said it was called a Trojan downloader, JS/NEMUCOD, like NEMUCOD. And it said it was severe.
Okay.
So I did what it told me to start the actions, and it said it blocked it.
Good.
Okay, great.
Good.
I'm wondering, that brings on the question down the line of, am I still being watched by what was in there, even though I changed
First of all,
password?
It's very rare that malware is sending you email. So the email you're getting, it's completely normal. We all get it. If you suddenly noticed an increase in it, it could be that the anti-spam filters that you were running before are not as effective or whatever. That's not the side effect of a virus on your system, because they don't need to be on your system to send you that stuff.
Okay. Well, I had gotten one even from my cable company.
Yeah, of course you do. You get it from every company in the world, except it's not really. It's what we call a phishing attack. They're on the rise because of COVID. A lot of people home, a lot of employees at home. And, of course, this has nothing. No virus, nobody breaks into your system so they can send you email. They don't need to do that. They don't need to do that. So that's not
related.
Pardon me?
They're not even related.
They're not related. That's right. And by the way, getting a lot of phishing emails is very normal. So I wouldn't worry about that. But I would worry about Trojan Downloader because that is NEMUCOD is a fairly serious malicious file. And the reason it's serious is because it can download other stuff.
Okay.
So including ransomware. So your system did get infected. I'm really glad Microsoft found it. Malwarebytes didn't find it, but Microsoft did. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And it didn't find it with a quick scan. It only found it with a thorough scan.
Right, about 16 hours.
Yeah. I wonder where it found it.
That I don't know how to find or tell.
Yeah, it doesn't give you any information about that, huh?
No.
So, okay, so that's something to be concerned about, and your concern is in the right area, because by itself, NEMUCOD doesn't do anything. It is used to put other stuff on your system, and you're absolutely right to be concerned, because if you stop NEMUCOD, it doesn't mean you stopped whatever else it might have downloaded in the interim. And this is the bad news about both Microsoft Defender and Malwarebytes and any anti-malware solution. None of them is perfect. Most of them are far from perfect. There will always be infections that can get by them because they're new, because they don't know about it, because they're sneaky. There's lots of reasons. So you can never say, oh, I scanned my system, it's got nothing on it. You can never say, it just means it couldn't find anything. Doesn't mean there's absolutely nothing on it. So now you do have some cause for concern, I think quite legitimately. And the question is, well, now what do I do?
Right.
You know, I would rerun Malwarebytes, and I would rerun the thorough scan. I would keep running those. Maybe go to antivirus.com. That's Trend Micro. They have an online scan. What you want to do is run enough scanners. You don't want to install a bunch of antiviruses on your system. You should never have more than one on your system. But you want to scan your system enough to kind of give you some sense of, well, thank goodness I caught NEMUCOD before it was used to put ransomware on my system. The problem is that these guys are getting more and more sophisticated. one of the things, and usually this isn't a company network, right? This is just you personally. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. Yes, this is personal.
If you were calling me from 3M or U.S. Steel or Ford, I would say you've got a really big problem, because what ransomware these days, this is only in the last few months, these guys don't trigger the ransomware right away. They get on your system and they explore your network, looking for vulnerabilities, downloading information. This is what happened to Canon, the camera company recently, the printer company. This is what happened to Garmin recently. They don't trigger the malware for a few months because what they're busy doing is downloading files. Then when they threaten you, they say you have two problems. One, we've encrypted all your data. Two, even if you solve that without paying us money, we have files that we're going to release about your customers. And this is what's happened a couple of times now. And I think this is the new technique. So if you were a big company and this was happening to you, I'd say you got to really, really very carefully scour your network and get everything off of it. But it's just you. Do you have just one machine?
I have a pad, and my emails do come on my phone also. But I just have one computer.
The emails are just, you know, something else could have happened. Somebody, most likely your email address got on a mailing list. That's not what we're worried about. But I'm much more worried about the fact that something was on your system that is specifically used to get other things on your system. It's like it's a gateway drug, right? And so,
sorry to interrupt you. You just triggered a thought on my mind. When this was blocked, these other emails that I didn't recognize stopped immediately.
Really?
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay. Well, now I understand why you connected the two.
Yeah.
I don't. This would be news to me. I can't think of a single reason why they would put malware on your system in order to send you emails. They don't need to. They can just send you emails, right? I mean, this doesn't add any capability they didn't have before. So I don't know why that happened, and I don't know why it stopped. It's probably coincidental. Now, you have two choices at this point. You could, if you were really nervous, and again, if this were a big company or there was a lot at stake, I would say do this. Wipe your computer and reinstall. Back up your data, wipe your computer, reinstall. That's the way you guarantee there's nothing on it. But that's a lot of work.
Right.
So your other choice, if you feel like, well, maybe I caught this right when it happened, sounds like you did, and they never got a chance to put ransomware on the system, I'm just going to scan it thoroughly and do it on a regular basis so that if there's anything else there, it shows up.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'll probably try that. I was wondering if I needed to have a deep professional...
So the professionals do the same thing I just told you. Which is they'll put malware bytes in your system and scan it. They're air quote professionals. A real security expert would tell you, oh no, there's nothing to do but wipe your drive and start over. That's the only way we can be sure. Because here's the nightmare scenario. So they got Nemucod on there, and then they used Nemucod to load ransomware. Now this guy's smart, and he's decided to hide the ransomware in a rootkit or somewhere that it can't be detected by a scanner. And or maybe he just gave himself backdoor access to your system and then erased all traces. Or maybe that's what he was trying to do, because he didn't erase Nemucod, which is the first thing I would have done, because, look, you found it. So let's say I got into your system. I can now look around. I can wander around. I can do anything I want, and eventually I might trigger ransomware, or maybe I'll watch for credit card numbers. Who knows? That's kind of the nightmare scenario. Nemucod is not by itself a malware. It is malware, but it's not by itself. It doesn't have a payload. What it does is it lets him put other stuff on your system. So that's what you're looking for. You got rid of Nemucod. You closed the door. That's good. And what you hope is you close the door before he did anything else, in which case you're fine.
What about going into the command prompt and looking for any odd things?
You won't see it. You won't see it. If the scanners don't see it, you're not going to see it.
So basically, then just do the rescans.
Yeah, if you were running for president or city council, if you had a big corporation, if you were a target, I would say, look, there's no choice. You know, if I were your security guy and you're running for president, I would say, I'm sorry, there's no choice, but not only are we going to erase your computer, we're going to erase every computer on that network. We are going to root out any possible infection because the price is too high. Now, at this point, I would make sure your data is backed up, because if you get hit by ransomware, you just, you know, as long as your data is backed up, you're okay. I'd be very careful about that. But I think you're probably all right. If the thorough scan doesn't find it, do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Yeah.
And keep doing it. Every week, you know, when you go to bed, do a thorough scan, do a Malwarebytes scan, do antivirus.com. There are a lot of online scanners. ESET has one. Run those, because the more online scanners you run, the more likely you'll find if there is something there, because they each have overlapping capabilities. But honestly, the only for sure way to protect yourself is to wipe it.
It won't do me any good to worry about changing my Microsoft password. None of that, because if it's in there, it's in there. So I just need to find it and stop it, sounds like.
Well, I mean, it's possible that they've been in there and they've detected, you know, they've got all your passwords. I don't know. That's the problem. That's what you don't know. And it's what you know, that's the, and you know, so if I were worried about getting sued by you for bad advice on the radio, I would say, oh no, my dear, you must back up your data, wipe everything out, start from fresh, because you don't know what's on there.
Right.
But I'm not worried. You're not going to sue me. And this is your risk. You have to decide what level of risk you're willing to tolerate, how much work you're willing to do. And it does sound to me like you nabbed it. You nailed it, because it didn't detect anything the first few times. And then suddenly it detects Memucon. I think maybe the guy got Memucon on there right beforehand.
Interesting. And I did get a new modem. I did go to Charter. Well,
yeah, that's not good. That's not the issue.
That's not the matter.
No. The way they get on your system is you open an email that has an attachment, you run a program, or maybe if you're not all the way up to date on your Windows patches, you go to a website that has malware on it. That's how you get it.
All right.
I think you're all right. I think you got it. Crossing my fingers for you. And if you call me next week and say I got ransomware, I'm going to feel terrible. I'm going to feel so bad.
Well, I can only do what we can do.
I think you're all right. Honestly, I wouldn't say this if I didn't think so. I think you're all right.
Is there a proper phone number to if you wanted to actually call Microsoft or call Google?
Oh, yes. Okay. But calling them, they're not going to say anything different.
Okay. All right.
They don't know. They don't know. If you want to change your passwords, I think it would be a good idea to get a password manager first, and then go through your accounts that you care a lot about, your Google account, your email account, your Microsoft account, your bank account, your credit cards. Change all of those. It's not a bad thing to do. Email's the first thing to change. I would change your email password for sure.
All right. And last question then, I guess, would be I have my own router. I've not really changed the password on that. But
doesn't matter.
You're supposed to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You shouldn't, I just got a new router. There's a default password on all routers. Change it. But more important than that is turning off. Nobody should be getting into your router from the outside world. So there's something called WAN administration, or I don't know what, there are other terms they use. The idea that you could administer the router from out there. You don't want anybody doing that. Only you should be able to administer it from within your network. So turn that off. And then, it's not a bad idea to change your router password.
How do I turn that off?
It'll be in the settings. You just have to browse around. I got to run. They're making me leave you. I am sorry. Though when we come back, I wouldn't mind talking a little bit about how to secure your router. We'll do that next. Thank you. I'm such a nitwit. Hey, you know what? This would be a good time to tell everybody to use LastPass. No, not because I'm a nitwit, but because if you use a password manager, it's much more secure. And there's only one password manager in my book. That's LastPass. I've been using it for more than a decade. So is Steve Gibson, our security guy. In fact, we use LastPass Enterprise at work. You know why? Because password management is always a problem. LastPass surveyed 700 IT and security professionals in financial services, IT, retail, almost all of them. 82% said their business had been exposed to a risk due to poor identity and access management. It's always a problem. But thank goodness LastPass is here to help you manage identities and promote good security behaviors while your employees are not in the office. They're remote. You see the problem, right? You want your employees to have secure password storage. That's what LastPass does. AES 256 encryption, PBKDF2 to prevent brute force attacks, salted hashes, SHA-256. They do it all right. Steve verified that. Looked at all the code, said, yeah, they're doing it right. That's why he uses it. LastPass also solves a lot of problems. For instance, when employees are in the office, they can easily share passwords, but when they're in remote situations, you're always at the risk that an employee is going to email a password or text it to another employee. Not with LastPass. It has built-in password sharing that's safe and secure. They have single sign-on. Employees love this. In fact, this is the thing LastPass does so well. They make it easy to have strong security. Single sign-on, they have over 1,300 apps that they support, where you log into the app, you'll get a pop-up on your phone that says, is this you? You say yes, and you're in. And that's easy for employees and more secure. And most importantly, it gives your IT insight into what's going on, who's accessing what from where. And that's really important in these remote workforce days. Enterprise password management ensures oversight of shadow IT and enforceable policies across all your password-protected accounts. And they also even go beyond two-step authentication. They have multi-factor, MFA, because, of course, they'll use the biometrics or the password, but they can also use contextual stuff like IP address or geolocation to really make sure these are the people allowed to access this resource. It makes you safer. It's easier for employees. It's peace of mind. It's LastPass, the #1 password manager. Let LastPass securely manage your user's identity. Help your employees work more efficiently without risking your business and making it vulnerable to cyber threats. LastPass.com/twit. We love LastPass. You will too. LastPass.com/twit. It's just peace of mind for your business. LastPass.com/twit. Thank you, LastPass, for supporting the Tech Guy. Thank you, dear listener, for supporting the Tech Guy by going to LastPass.com/twit. Little Stevie Wonder, Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. So you got a brand new Wi-Fi router. Let's talk about what to do to secure it. And actually, our caller was right. The first thing you probably do want to do on your Wi-Fi router is change the password. A lot of routers have default passwords like admin. If your password logging in the router is on a sticker on the box, that's different. It's unique. I still change it. It's just it's a habit. You often can't change the login name. It's often just admin, and there's nothing you can do about that. But if you can change the login name and the password, I would do that. Turn off WAN administration. That's the ability to get into the router from the outside world and modify settings. You definitely don't want that. You also don't want something called UPnP, Universal Plug and Play. That's something that allows you to modify router settings from inside your network. It really was a Microsoft invention for the Xbox, so that the Xbox could open up ports on the router and the router's firewall to allow outbound traffic so you could run a Xbox game server. That's very dangerous because it's not just the Xbox. Malware could do that too. Like, hey, let's open a door and let everybody else inside. I wouldn't be surprised if Nemucod didn't do that. So UPnP, turn that off. You want to turn on encryption. Of course, WPA2, 3 if it's available, encryption, and have a good password. That's important too, because then no one else can see what you're doing and no one else can use your router. It is not necessary to hide the router's SSID. In fact, it's useless. But those things are the most important things to do. Turn off Universal Plug and Play, turn off WAN administration, change the password, and turn on encryption. WPA if possible. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. More calls right after this. It's the 21st of December. Woo! September. Okay, whatever. It's just a song. Professor Laura is very attached to Earth, Wind, and Fire, I must say. She does love that band, and so do I. Is it tomorrow is the first day of fall? No, it's Tuesday.
Tomorrow is the 21st of September, and it's Earth, Wind, and Fire Day in Los Angeles.
It's Earth, Wind, and Fire Day in Los Angeles tomorrow. Forget the fall. It's Earth, Wind, and Fire Day in L.A. All right, we're celebrating on the 21st, and then the next day it'll be fall. Lori on the line from Aliso Viejo, California. Hi, Lori. Happy Earth, Wind, and Fire Day.
Hi, happy Earth, Wind, and Fire Day.
What can I didn't know that was a holiday. It should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. What can I do for you?
Well, I have a Mac, and that I use for my personal use, and then I have a laptop that I've been working from home on.
Okay.
And my laptop from work went out, and so I allowed a third party who does not work for my company to load 3 programs onto my personal computer, my Mac. My concern is...
Wait a minute. Your work laptop went out, but the third party put stuff on your Mac?
Yes.
Why?
So I could access my email and...
Oh, I see. He set it up so that you could do your work on the Mac.
Yes.
Okay. Where'd you get the name of this third party?
It's someone who works with my company.
Okay.
But I work
good.
with someone who I don't know there.
Okay, but it is your company IT department.
Well, it's a separate company who works for my who works for my company.
So they do outsourced IT for your company.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be reliable because your company's not working with shysters or hackers or bad guys, right?
True, but how do I know someone else doesn't have access?
Well, you ask. It's a deep philosophical question. Somebody has access to your computer, they can do anything they want once they get in there.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of how much do you trust that guy? But if you had said, "Oh, I got the number," it popped up on my screen, and it said, "Oh, you're having trouble, call this number," then I would say, "Run. You got a problem." But
Leo.
Yeah.
My ConnectWise control on my Mac, does that give access to my email and my phone and my text messages from my iPhone?
Did he leave that on there?
Yes, it's connected. And my iPhone is connected with my Mac.
So this is what we call remote access software. We have a sponsor of that, Remote PC. ConnectWise is a similar program, widely used by IT departments to access the computer. But once he's done that, he doesn't need access to the computer still, does he?
No.
So remove it.
Okay. Well, I don't know how to do that, but I could call Apple and ask them to help me.
There'll be an uninstaller.
Yeah.
So you should be, if it, he said, he told you on the phone, download ConnectWise and install it, right?
Well, he did it through a website, I believe. I didn't actually.
He told,
I gave him permission. But
he told you, he didn't have control until you put that on there. So he had to walk you through the process of putting that on there, going to connectwise.com and downloading and installing the software. So that is, that process can be reversed. You can even Google uninstall ConnectWise. And you don't have to call Apple unless you really want to. But this isn't really an Apple problem. It's a ConnectWise problem. So there is ways. In fact, I just Googled it, uninstall ConnectWise, it'll tell you how to do it. Once you remove it, he cannot get back into your computer, which is fine because if you needed him again, you could reinstall it. You could go through that process again. So yes, you want to take that off. But again, it comes down to trust. Even during the process, when he was on your computer setting those things up, he could have, I don't know how, were you watching him like a hawk? Were you paying close attention?
I was watching him like a hawk. But
Good.
After he finished, I didn't watch him. So
whenever he's on your computer, he could do stuff like download bad stuff and install it and so forth. But so whenever you let anybody access your computer, you're giving them the keys to your computer. And you're letting them do whatever they want.
But in doing so on a Mac, am I also giving them keys to my iPhone and my text messages and my photos and all of that?
Not really. If you back up your iPhone to your Mac, then that stuff's on the Mac and he has access to that. But he can't get into your phone just because he's in your Mac.
Okay.
Do you have reason not to trust the guy?
No, not really. I just have some very personal.
Yeah, of course you do.
On my,
we all do. The phone, your phone is your heart in a little box outside your body.
Yes.
That's why we talk so much about how wrong it is for your phone to get searched by Border Patrol when you cross the border, or by law enforcement, that there should be and need to be strong restrictions, because everybody's phone has their most intimate details inside there. So, yes, I don't blame you at all for being concerned about that. Take off ConnectWise. That will stop him cold from any login. You gave the right person access, though. This is a company you deal with. You reached out to them. You're presumably the company you work for vetted this company and trusts them. So I don't think that you did anything wrong. It would be very different if some guy called you and said, I'm calling from Microsoft and I want to get in your computer. This happens all the time, by the way. And you said, oh, yeah, okay. That would be different. But that's not what happened. You actually used a supplier that your company uses, so I'm sure you're fine. I would uninstall the Access Agent because, and the instructions are very clear. They're on the ConnectWise site. You can just uninstall it. And then that means he can't, without your permission or cooperation, log back into your computer. He could have theoretically put a Trojan horse on your system that allows him to see what you're doing. You know, I don't want to scare you. It's possible to put things on your system that turn on the camera, the microphone, download files. All of that could have happened. That's why you really want to be judicious when you give somebody access. But, you know, if you don't know how to fix something and there's a tech support person that you trust, you know, my mom lets me access her computer because she trusts me. So if it's a company you trust and they're reliable and they're bonded and they're reasonable people, he's probably not going to have done anything like that.
Right. I just got suspicious because right after that, I was on a Zoom call and I showed up twice on the call. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever experienced that or heard any?
No, yeah, that's just Zoom. Okay. that's not a symptom of anything. That's just a symptom of Zoom. Yeah. Okay. Right. So did he tell you why he put ConnectWise on there? The one thing I'm concerned about, if you're using ConnectWise to access your company computer or access your company resources, because in that case, you don't want to uninstall it. Do you use it? Or did he just use it for support?
I found it very problematic to use my computer for doing company business. So I have another laptop that they gave me.
Yeah, I understand. But I'm just asking if you are on your Mac using ConnectWise to access company resources or that company laptop. I don't think you are.
I don't think so. No. I have a VPN that they installed.
Yes, that's different. That's good. Yeah. That's different. No, so I didn't want you to uninstall it if you need it for work, but you don't. It was just used for support. And that's one of the main uses for ConnectWise. So that's fine. You can turn it off now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah. And as long as this wasn't that guy's last day and he's not a disgruntled employee, I think you're fine.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, in other words, I think it's okay. Sure, Lori, anytime. Leo Laporte. You know, it's always risky to give if you invite somebody in your house and say, sit down on my computer, let me go make you a cup of coffee. That's risky. You only do it if you really trust them. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Audrey, next from Agora, California. Hello, Audrey.
Hi, Leo.
Hey.
I need help, please, for my mom.
Okay.
What I'm trying to find is a smartphone for her. She only wants it to make and receive calls and to look at 2 websites.
Oh, yeah, because if it's just calls, she doesn't need a smartphone, but she wants to look at the web too, huh?
Yeah.
Would it be possible, just out of curiosity, because how old is she?
Well, that's one of the complications. She's 96.
Wow.
She has unbelievably bad hearing.
Yeah.
And her fingers shake a lot.
Yeah, they're not nimble.
So what I've been trying to find is a smartphone that has really loud and clear speakers.
Right.
Voice recognition for as many functions as possible. Big buttons for when voice recognition doesn't work. And if possible, a nice big screen would be good.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I feels like there's 2 different functionalities you want here. It would be how's her eyesight?
Eyesight is pretty good.
Okay. I feel like a smartphone screen no matter what, is going to be too small. I would say get her the $329 iPad for those 2 websites. It's bigger, it's easier to manipulate. It's just a better computer. And then you don't need to get a smartphone per se. In fact, there are great not smartphone, they call them feature phones, that have all of those features you want, like the Jitterbug, for instance, which has big buttons. It'll tie into hearing aids or just has a very loud speaker. It's designed for older folks. The Jitterbug is really great. But it's not, and they have a smartphone, but it's not that smart, and it's going to be too small, I think, for her to use. Because the small screen doesn't just mean small text, it means small buttons as well.
I read that the smartphone Jitterbug is not that loud.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And she goes out. She goes out. So if she gets an iPad, which sounds like a great idea, but then she'd have to bring 2 devices.
Well, is she going to want the internet, want those websites when she's out?
She likes to do that, yeah.
Oh, nuts.
I know. Otherwise, it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, because, the Jitterbug Flip, which is it's only $50, has really big numbers, has a very loud speaker, big buttons. It's really designed to do this. But it's not a smartphone. It's a phone. And that's my problem, is that if you combine smart with phone, you get the worst of both worlds. It's not a great computer. It's not a great phone. I think for her, like the Jitterbug Flip, there are a lot of phones for seniors that are big buttons, loud speakers and stuff. But as soon as you want to make it a smartphone, now it's got to have a screen on it, and it's going to just not be as good. So I know you don't want her to have to take an iPad and a smartphone. Actually, one thing, okay, she could just use the iPad as a phone.
You can?
Sure, you could put FaceTime on there. You'd have to give it a cell account. But you'd have to do that if she wants to take it out anyway, so she can get online when she's out and about. But if you add a cell account to an iPad, she could use Skype or FaceTime or any number of video calling technologies. The speakers aren't that loud. I don't know how loud she needs them to be. But they're definitely louder than any phone. They might be loud enough. I think an LTE iPad would allow her to make phone calls, would allow her to accept phone calls. It would give her the websites. It's a little bigger. You've seen an iPad, she could probably put it in her purse.
What's an LTE iPad?
So it's an iPad with a cell connection.
Oh, I see.
And you can get that from Apple, but you can also go to your cell phone company and, if you're on Verizon or AT&T or whoever, they all sell iPads with LTE built in. They charge you for it. You're going to be, but you'd be doing that anyway. If she wants to use it on the road, you need the LTE connection, unless she's only using it at a Wi-Fi access point, like a coffee shop or something like that. I think an iPad is I think it will do it all. It's got a big screen, so everything's very visible. You can actually program it so that there's a single icon on that screen that's you or whoever she's calling. She can have a button for. So she doesn't even have to dial anything. And you can even do video calls, which I bet she'd prefer.
Well, I guess it depends how she looks that day.
My mom's 87, and every time I want to FaceTime her, she says, give me 10 minutes to put on my face. And I said, Mom, I've seen your face. You don't need to put on your face. Oh, no, got to put on my face. So I know what that is. Does she wear hearing aids?
Yes.
So almost all hearing aids will work with an iPad. iPhones and iPads have an accessibility feature so that for instance, when I wear my Starkey hearing aids, actually I have Resounds now, when I wear my hearing aids, I can hear the phone in my hearing aids. So that should help. If her hearing aids work well enough she can hear what's going on, they'll work fine for a phone call. It's just like the person's next door.
Oh.
So that's really what you want, rather than a big loud speaker, which is going to annoy everybody around her.
Okay. I like this idea.
Yeah. So ask her audiologist if there's a way to use her hearing aids with a phone or a tablet. Most modern hearing aids do pair with the phone or the tablet. And Apple's really good about this, actually.
Okay.
That's part of their accessibility. And it has to be a made-for-iPhone device. The smartphones are getting bigger and bigger, and it's possible that a big screen phone like an iPhone Max would be enough for her. You'd have to sit her down and try it.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of ways to do this. If you want big buttons, loudspeaker, big numbers on the screen, the Jitterbug Flip, the phone is probably a better choice than their smartphone. Not ideal.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, this sounds good.
My mom loves.
So much. I've been looking for hours,
my mom loves her big iPhone. She won't give it up. Ties into the hearing aids so she can hear just fine. So does her iPad, by the way. So when I call her on the iPad, she says, "Wait a minute, let me put my hearing aids in. After I put my face on, then I got to put on the girdle." You know, doesn't matter. 96 doesn't matter. So I think this is not. You're a great daughter to do this, Audrey, and I think this is a good solution.
All right. Thank you so much, Leo.
My pleasure. Thank you for calling. I love it. 96 years old. She's going to, you know what? This is the thing. You don't realize this. She's going to get an iPad and go, "This is great. I think I have a startup in mind." This is going to do a whole new thing. I'm telling you. My mom loves her iPad and her iPhone. Loves it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I can't believe we're done. Have a great geek week. Stay safe. I'll see you next time. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, TWiT. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.